Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. I'm your host, Allison Schaaf, and today's topic is 3 surprising foods that my toddlers love. Before diving in, a quick reminder that if you have not tried our meal prep meal plans, you can text 33777 and the word meal plan, all one word. Again, the number is 33777. And the word is meal plan. And if you text that, you can sign up for our newsletter and try one of our meal plans for free. Okay, so this episode, I get a lot of requests for kid-friendly foods or feeding kids. And I get it, right? I have right now a 16-month-old and a 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old, when, he was 16 months, ate everything. It's like, oh, my kid, he just eats everything. And I still feel that way about the 16-month-old, but the 3-year-old, definitely has more opinions now that he's gotten older. That's a good thing. They're starting to realize that they can express opinions on things, and that includes food. But the purpose of today's episode is, one, to just share these 3 foods that I found both of my boys have really enjoyed. And 2, it's kind of a bigger message of to keep in mind, to keep an open mind when you're feeding your kids, and not to let your preconceived notions of what they may or may not like get in the way of them developing their own preferences. So what I mean by this is, say, you're at a party and there's this dish that has it's a spinach dish or something. You're like, oh, he's not going to like that. Well, if your kid hears you say that, then he probably isn't going to like it. He's like, well, my mom thinks I'm not going to like it. So, that's what I'm saying when I try and be very conscious of the words that I use around food and my kids, and really try and stay away from expressing my opinions and forming those into their opinions. So let's get into the surprising foods though. So one is sauerkraut. So sauerkraut's one that we try and add to our meals from time to time for the healthy probiotics. And we've always let our kids, put a little bit of sauerkraut on their plate since they were, we've done baby-led weaning. I can reference in the show notes back to some of those episodes on baby-led weaning, but sauerkraut's definitely one of the foods that I've just always put on their plates. And they have both kids have gone through phases where they really like that sauerkraut. And I think it's kind of that taste. Another thing that both boys have really loved is meat on the bone. So this is a big baby-led weaning thing, right? Because you can give them a rib or a, chicken drumstick or something like that, and they can gnaw it off the bone. But I think it's, the handheld part of it, being able to hold it with their hand. And they both really just like meat and protein. One thing that I have found, and maybe I've mentioned this in past episodes, that I make a lot of in the past, I had really never even bought at the store. And that is chicken wings and chicken, drumsticks. I always used to do a lot of, but the little chicken wings, I find that the boys really like those. Now with the younger one, there's sometimes a little knob that I'll check for to make sure there's not a part that could fall off and he could choke on. But other than that, I give him a chicken wing, supervised, but he has grown up eating chicken wings and both of them love having those wings, and drumsticks, kind of the same thing. So I find those are really good. Kind of, everyone's always asking, oh, what's a kid food? Well, there is no such thing as kid food. I'm sure I've talked about my opinions on that in the past, but I do think, meat on the bone is something that kids really enjoy. And to me, chicken wings and drumsticks are an easy one that just, hey, salt and pepper roasted in the oven, a really easy kid-friendly meal. So meat on the bone, that would be the second one. And the third one is sour foods like lemons and limes. And I actually did some research on this and found a study that talks about this. And it talks about how they looked at kids and also their moms and their preference for sour foods. And it actually found that the kids had kind of a higher preference for these sour tastes in general, right? They liked the taste of lemons. And the reason I looked into this is because both of my boys, I remember like at around, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, between that age range, I like handed both of them at some point in time, like a lime and a lemon. And they both kind of, did the thing of like puckered up, right? They puckered up, but then they wanted more, more, more. And it's so entertaining to watch, like handing a baby a lemon or a lime. But then it was also interesting to me because like when Ivan, the oldest, when he liked that, I was like, oh, wow, like he really likes that sour taste. But then when Seven did as well, it's like, wow, there maybe like, maybe there's something to this. And when I looked it up, sure enough, it said that kids kind of prefer, and it makes sense because I know in the candy aisle, there's kind of these like really intense, like sour flavors, and kids seem to gravitate towards those. So, but the reason for bringing this one up is when you're looking at kid-friendly foods, I think sometimes if you had like a really sour dish or a sauce that had like a tart lemon sauce or something, you would think, oh, like maybe that's not kid-friendly. And that's a good example where like, hey, put it on the plate and see what they think. And that might actually be a way to go, right? If you're creating some sort of dipping sauce, like maybe adding a little extra lemon or lime to it, like, mashing up some avocado and adding some lime juice to it might actually help your kids like it more. So the sour flavor is one that you could really play around with your kids and see, do they have a preference for that? And if so, is there a way you can really use that to your advantage in terms of creating some dishes that they really enjoy by adding those sour flavors? So those are the 3 foods. I would be curious. I'm at Prep Dish on Instagram. So feel free, as always, to reach out. I'd love to hear some of the surprising foods that your kids or toddlers, enjoy. It's always funny that, the typical kid foods are not necessarily what they gravitate towards, right? Like there's always some random food that a kid just like all of a sudden decides they love. So I'm always interested to hear from you guys what those foods are. Especially, it's always helpful too when we're making our meal plans to be like, look, each kid is going to be different, but again, like some of the foods that they're going to gravitate towards can be surprising and maybe not what we had in mind. So I hope you found this episode helpful. And if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. And if you have never left a rating or a review and you're a longtime listener, I would really appreciate that. It just helps other people to find the podcast and get us out there. And if you're not, you've never tried one of our meal plans, just text 33777, the word meal plan, all one word. And we will get you a free Prep Ahead meal plan. You can also head to prepdish.com/MPM. That's short for Meal Prep Monday. And you can try out the service for 2 weeks. That's actually, so if you do the newsletter, you get one meal plan to try. But if you do the 2-week trial, you actually have access. Like if you do I would recommend doing the premium 2-week trial because then you get access to all of the different resources we have. You can log in, you can see all of the various meal plans we have because we have, super fast and paleo, gluten-free, low carb, kind of just see all of the options that are available and, spend 2 weeks trying out a few of the plans and seeing if maybe it's a fit for you right now in terms of saving time and getting healthy meals on the table. So that is all I have for this week. I will be back again next Monday with a new episode.